ahead, Carla. Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. McHugh. Mayor Martin.
Here.
Miss Doherty.
Here.
Miss Fattacante.
Here.
Mr. Leahy.
Here.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Miss Martin.
Here.
6 present, 1 absent.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the school committee meeting on February 21st, 2007. Motion to approve by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leary.
Jay can't understand me. It's going to leave his cell number.
For the minutes?
Teachers could see it.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Under permission to enter, Madam Superintendent?
Yes, several contracts. New England Long-Term Care Incorporated, $81,500 to amend an existing contract for the out-of-district cost for 3 students and the addition of 1 student enrolled in receiving services, as outlined in their special education plan, funded by the Special Education Department budget for special ed tuition account. Justice Resource Institute Incorporated, $102,736. The same purpose, changes for 2 students and the addition of 1 student to the out-of-district placement. The Case Concord Area Special Education Collaborative, $21,400 to amend the existing contract for additional costs for 1 student who's enrolled in the out-of-district placement. Cardinal Cushing Center, $17,728, amending contracts involving 2 students. And the Protestant Guild for Human Services, $65,999 to amend the contract for 2 students and for the addition of 2 students. All of those from the special education tuition account.
Okay. Any questions? Roll call.
I need a first and a second.
Move approval, Your
Motion approved by Ms. Fattacante, second by Mr. Leahy. Roll call.
Mr. McHugh. Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Fattacante.
Yes?
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Miss Martin.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 absent. Approved.
Okay. The next item is memorials. Under memorials, we have one offered by Ms. Fattacante for Charles B. McCormick, son of Nancy Caputi, a food service employee at the Butler Middle School. If we could all rise in a moment of silence in darkened chambers in Mr. McCormick's memory. May he rest in peace. Okay, under the motions, the first motion is by Ms. Martin, requesting that the athletic subcommittee receive a report before the end of the current school year on the college admissions and scholarship status of all graduating Lowell High School athletes. Second by Ms. Doherty. Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much. Really, I'm just looking, one of the many things that we track our success on in terms of our student athletes is certainly their continued success once they complete their tenure at Lowell High School. So I'm just hoping that on an annual basis, we'll be able to get this information across all sports, across all seasons, to be able to track the success of these students. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. The next motion is by Mr. Leary. Request the headmaster provide to the Lowell High School Subcommittee the current status of all high school science laboratories. In addition, provide the number of students that are scheduled for an additional physical education class due to lack of science laboratory space. The status report should also include recommendations to the Lowell High School Subcommittee for remedies.
Second.
Second by Ms. Fattacante. Mr. Leary.
Thank you, Mayor. Quickly, this comes from a few parents I discussed that had an issue with their children, students at the high school, actually having 2 physical education classes in the same semester. Now, being a phys ed guy and someone who likes sports, I think that's pretty cool, but they didn't actually have that opinion as well. I think, and I know there's a history here where I remember former committee man Joe Mendonça actually was instrumental in getting additional funds to update some of the labs. I'm also, I think we're all fully aware that the Lowell plan and their design also had reviewed the science labs and had found some, at least a number of them deficient, not deficient in the actual labs, but the number of them wasn't sufficient. That's probably the right way of saying it. So what I'd like to do is really take a look at, one, if there's not an ability to take some funds to enhance the laboratories, which would be the ultimate resolution to this, I would think. If we can actually find something that would be better education value, i.e. go in the library to use computers or something that has more of an a mental educational value. And I don't want to knock physical education, that's very important. But in saying that, laboratory usage is something where you shouldn't be using, if you should be required using it 5 days a week, you shouldn't be scheduled for an additional, the operative word is additional, physical education class during that time frame. So if something we can talk to the headmaster and his folks, review the number, find an alternative plan, find a resolution to this issue, I'd be appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Doherty?
Yes, I just want to add to that. I'd like to start by saying I think this is an excellent motion, and something that's been of concern to me personally is our science academic program right throughout the school. It's K to 12th grade. I know that at the high school level we were going to add a biology course, which we're not adding yet this year, so I'm interested in the academic component of the science instruction at the high school level, especially where our high school students are going to be having to take an MCAS science test and what kind of preparation we're doing. But I'm also concerned about what's happening K to 8. I know we lost a lot of our, I think all of them at this point, our science teachers at the elementary level, and at the middle school level, because we've expanded our literacy and math time slots, I think we've stolen a little bit from science in that area as well. So I think this is a very important first step in terms of looking at science instruction in the district, to look at what's happening at the high school in terms of physical space and academic offerings. But I think it's something we need to really be looking at much more comprehensively for the whole district. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leahy?
Thank you. Could I also ask that when Mr. Mendonça was here, we had gone over this and we put extra money into the high school. So if we don't mind, if my colleague doesn't mind, in that report, we should know what we've done since that last motion too. Because again, and I don't want to put all the, point fingers, but what are the chairs doing at the high school? Where have we gone since we discussed this 2 years ago? This is an excellent motion, but we should have been doing some of this already, and I hope we have. We probably have been, but we should have that in the report too, because this isn't brand new to us. We've already been talking about it. So if we could have that information as well, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. Next motion by Ms. Doherty. Request the superintendent provide a report to update the committee on plans for the 2007 summer school program, including sites and students to be included, scheduling and plans for outreach to parents, follow-up plans to ensure attendance, teacher hiring, and any other efforts to provide an effective academic program and efficient use of resources. Second by Ms. Martin. Ms. Doherty.
Yes, I think the motion pretty much speaks for itself. I think my colleagues may recall that last budget season I was pushing really hard to have elementary summer school before I realized it was too late to add it in. So I'm hoping to stay on top of it this budget season, and also to kind of go back to a report we had in the fall, which looked at some low numbers of student attendance in some programs that I think we could do a better job of using the resources we have. So that's why I'm really hoping for a comprehensive plan early enough to really provide for that elementary summer school this upcoming summer, and also make a more effective use of our resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leahy. I'm sorry, Mr. Leary.
I'll speak for him then. Madam, just Mayor, through you to the superintendent. Madam Superintendent, just quickly, what is the criteria that we're judging right now for asking folks to go through the summer school program? Is it something they pass a certain subject and we're asking them in, or what's the actual request? What exactly are we asking a student for to go to summer school? And obviously they haven't passed a subject, but are we also looking at other issues as well?
At the high school, it's for course completion, so it's a course that typically that a youngster has failed. And so they take the course, they take a class in summer school in order to earn credit. That's the typical situation at the high school. At the middle school level, youngsters are in the summer school either because they have failed the course and earned a grade that's below passing, but not utter failure. So they have to have made some effort during the school year to have, in the course, or because of attendance, because they have missed too many days of school, or in some cases it's both attendance and the grade in a course.
Okay. Anything further? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. Next motion is by Ms. Doherty. Request the superintendent provide a report to the facility subcommittee on the status of telephone service throughout the district. Second by Ms. Faticante. Ms. Doherty.
Yes, just briefly, a couple of weeks ago, I called the Robinson Middle School, and I went through about 15 minutes of prompts and had to hang up and call back, because I finally got to the prompt that I gave up ever getting the principal as a name, and there was a prompt that said, type in the last name of the person you're trying to reach, and I typed in the principal's last name, and they said, we don't have any person by that name at this school. So being a stubborn, persistent person, I kept calling, and I finally did get the principal, and I exclaimed to him about my concern with the phone, and he said, yes, they've had some problems with the phone system. More recently, I think last week, I called the high school, just the regular main number. And again, I got about, I think it was 9 prompts. And I did eventually get a human, and they were very nice to me, and it all went fine. But it dawned on me that I didn't call the other schools, but I'd like to have a report without doing too much work, but really looking at, this is a really important point of entry for our community, and especially our parents who might be calling, you know, with a concern or an issue or question or whatever it is. And I think we should look at doing the best job possible with the communication available that we have that Connect Ed program. I know they're separate things, but if we can do that, it seems to me we should have a general phone system that's user-friendly. And one issue I would be interested in looking at is especially our schools that have very high populations of non-English speaking families, to maybe have a prompt that gives them, you know, if you need to speak to someone in Spanish, push this number or whatever. But I'm just looking for an overall status of our phone system with some suggestions maybe how we might do a better job. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. I don't believe there are any subcommittee reports, so that brings us to reports of the superintendent. First item is a report on the 3rd Annual Merrimack Valley Teacher Recruitment Fair. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Martin. The 3rd Annual Merrimack Valley Recruitment Fair was held last Thursday at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. We collected over 500 resumes, and we interviewed a lot of candidates. You have a report that indicates all the principals and high school administrators who spent time at the fair greeting people and gathering information. It was really an impressive event, and we want to particularly note the secretarial support of Deb Jarvis and Doris Tebow, but also Tom McKay and the Lowell Memorial Auditorium staff, who really treated all of the school districts very well that in preparation and then during that day, and it was a very successful event. Last year, that fair was the starting point for I think what wound up being 30 teachers now teaching in the Lowell Public Schools were introduced themselves to us at last year's fair, and so it's really a very, very helpful for us. So it was a very successful event. We'll see next fall how many of the folks introduced there wind up in our classrooms.
Motion to accept the report placed on file by Ms. Martin, second by Ms. Faticante. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Next report is on the impact of the FY04 merger of the athletic, phys ed, and health departments. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, this was a report requested by Committee Member McHugh back in the major cuts that were made in the 03-04 school year, where we cut, I believe it, if I remember accurately, something like 17 administrative positions in the district. One of the positions was, in the face of a couple of retirements, we merged two administrative positions. We merged the science, athletic director, and health position into a single position. Prior to that, we had two separate positions of director of athletics. I'm sorry, director of athletics and director of physical education. And since that time, we restored the science department chair position and were able to move health out of PE and athletics over to the science department, thereby reducing the responsibilities of the director of athletics and physical education. That's still a very demanding position to have responsibility for both of those areas, but at the same time, I think there's been the physical education program is being strengthened, and the athletic program is also being strengthened during that time. And I'm not sure what Mr. McHugh would like done with this report, whether he wants this referred to the athletic subcommittee or what the next step is.
Well,
Ms. Fataconti?
How about the Lowell High Subcommittee? Joint would be good, because Mr. McHugh serves on the Athletic Subcommittee. Ms. Doherty heads the Lowell High Subcommittee. This does concern teachers. It doesn't matter that they're in the athletic area. It does concern teachers. So I think that it's probably a good opportunity for us to look at what should happen at Lowell High School specifically in conjunction with what happens athletically.
Okay. Motion to refer this report to the Lowell High School and the athletic subcommittees by Ms. Fataconti, second by Mr. Leary. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is so referred.
Excuse me. Your Honor.
Next item,
Just had a question.
Mr. Lee.
Thank you. I just, when we do have this subcommittee, could you get, through you to the superintendent, could you get more information than what's on here? This wasn't, I don't think, quite exactly what we were looking for, so if we could get, now that Mr. McHugh's here, maybe we could give you some more guidance on this.
Be happy to convey what you're looking for to the headmaster, and we'll get that information for you.
Okay. And could you just clarify a couple of things? When did we switch that last year? The science department takes the help?
We restored the science chair department for this year. So this year, 06-07, is the first year that we've been able to then put health back into the science department, and so that the health teachers are supervised in science rather than by the director of athletics and physical education.
So the athletic director is just doing athletic director duties right now?
And physical education.
All right. And there's how many teachers under his? 12 under his.
Right.
Okay, so science department has 6 teachers, but 20, how many it's kind of confusing. How many, where do you get 40 teachers?
The science department chair is responsible for supervision and evaluation of 40 teachers, which 6 of whom are health education teachers. The athletic director is responsible for supervision and evaluation of 12 physical education teachers, and of course all the coaches. I mean all the head coaches of the sports, and responsible for the high school athletic program.
So there's 36 science teachers at the high school?
Yes.
There are, okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Leary.
Mayor, through you to the superintendent, so he's also, the athletic director position is also intramurals, I believe sports intramurals at the high school and
Middle school.
Middle school.
Yes.
So it's okay. And I guess how many science teachers are we down from the 03 budget cuts? Do you know that off the top of your head?
How many?
How many science teachers are we down when compared to 2003 budget cuts that we had?
Very few science teachers.
Okay, so
because
not-
we've I don't believe I'd have to go back and look.
Sure.
We may have reduced 1 or 2 teaching positions in the science department since start in that 03, 04 cuts.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Doherty.
Yes, I just was kind of piggybacking on what Mr. Leahy said about more information. One thing that I would find helpful when we discuss this issue further is to know how many teachers other chairs have that they supervise and evaluate. How many teachers does the English chair cover? How many, so that we can kind of look at some kind of equity and what the job really entails. That would be helpful for me. Thank you.
Mr. McHugh.
Thank you. I think just to give us everyone some idea, the rationale was, I know a number of years ago we did consolidate this for budgetary reasons, and it was something that was always said that we look at again. I think that was the purpose of this, and now that the athletic director is trying to do more intramurals, I think that role is really starting to become more responsibilities than overseeing it. So I think that was the purpose of trying to get some information to see what has been transitioning over the last number of years. It's doable, not doable. So I think this is a start. I think we definitely need some more information, and I welcome to take this to the athletic subcommittee to continue that discussion. Thank you.
Okay, I think that brings us to the next report, which is on Lowell High School attendance trends and the attendance buyback program. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, this is a report in response to a motion from Committee Member Leary. The first part of the report just tracks trends in recent years in average daily attendance at the high school, and you can see overall an increase in attendance, a modest increase since 04, 05 across the whole school. And you can see the Freshman Academy, the change from this year, from last year to this year is the biggest single improvement. You can see that from the second page. And then attached to that is the description of the Saturday buyback program, the procedures used for students to enter into the attendance buyback program, and a description that it's held in the library on Saturdays, and the number of youngsters participating it varies from week to week, from a low of 20 to a high of 50 or more students. It is staffed by 2 teachers and 1 administrator. I'd welcome any questions, and this too might want to see it referred to one of the subcommittees.
Yeah, and I think, Mayor, through you to the superintendent, exactly. I think we should have this referred to the Lowell High School subcommittee. But quick look at the information. Obviously, it's positive. It didn't, we made a slight improvement overall, and the Freshman Academy is obviously leading that effort, which is very good. I have additional questions I think we need to look at with the headmasters. One, the types of populations within these numbers, special education, income, what have you. But I think overall it's very optimistic that we're in the other direction. I think that obviously shows a lot of positive effort on the headmasters folks and the resource officers. The other issue regarding the buyback time, I just quickly looking at the numbers, the total enrolled 338 and 65 have completed. And I don't know if the 338 are ongoing or it's the information. There's more questions than answers. I mean, if you look at it real quick, it looks less than 20% have actually made the have had the right to buy back. I don't know if that's because it's ongoing, it's in transition. I don't know how many numbers aren't actually showing up on Saturdays. That's probably more information. How many have been referred for this buyback that don't go? How many have dropped out? I mean, I know it's probably data that'll be a pain in the neck to rip apart, but I think before we can say that this program is a success, or even get into further whether showing up on a Saturday morning has an educational benefit, we need to first find out those numbers. Regarding the benefit of showing up on a Saturday, I'll be honest with you, I've got to dive into that myself at least, and maybe others have more expertise in that. Dive into whether or not that's actually of value to show up on a Saturday for a particular student. Are you actually getting the education? I would say you're probably not getting the education you would if you were in the classroom. Are you getting any type of value from showing up on a Saturday? Is there a different way of doing it? Is this program, can we enhance it? Is it running efficiently? This is stuff I think we need to really look at a lot closer than just this report. Oh, this is a good start to the review of what we're trying to do, at least from my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much. If I could, as we're pulling together this information and as we are continuing to work with it, I'd like to request that we also have, and I think this 3-year time frame is appropriate and adequate. But we have a number of different initiatives that have gone on around the attendance and tardiness issues at the high school, some of which have 2 or 3 years, some of which have just started in this current year. But I would, if I could, like to request that we examine both sides of this issue in tandem. If we're looking at some improvements, and we're certainly seeing some in specific areas, but for the most part, I mean, overall, the attendance is pretty flat, remained at really pretty much the same place. We've invested a lot of money, a lot of resources. So I think it would be interesting to be able to compare which of our programs are being effective, if we could get some real data as to which initiatives are showing promise, so that we can make some comparisons and make some decisions moving forward as to what we want to keep in place, what new things we might want to try, and really be able to make this comparison, especially with the budget coming up, and have that information to make well-founded choices. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McHugh.
Just briefly, yes, thank you for the report on the buyback, although I think I agree with one of my colleagues that it just raises more questions, and I'm trying to get something. I think the other intention I was looking for is the effectiveness of this program, and, again, it ties with the attendance, and it seems to be, I didn't get any information as far as what are they accomplishing. It sounds almost like a homework session on a Saturday, and they're allowed to buy back some time for attending a homework session. So I guess that's where I'm really going with this, is what is the real benefit of this program if we're allowing somehow students are missing classes and not being in the classroom, yet they can still somehow make up time by showing up on a Saturday. It bothers me that, I agree with Mr. Leary, is that the most effective time is in the classroom with the teacher. That's where the instruction and learning is going to take place, not sitting there on a Saturday. So I would like to see why these kids aren't in school and why they're, I don't have a problem with the concept of allowing if they have a real family issue or something, but we're talking 338 students are participating, and only 65 have completed the program at this point. So I think that raises some more questions, as Mr. Leary did state. Are they still in process, or is it just something that some go, some don't? And what is the effectiveness where we're staffing a program on Saturday? And we're going to be into another tough budget session coming up. I think we need to just continue to get some more information so we can make informed decisions when that time comes. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Doherty?
Yes, I'd like to add to that. My understanding of the buyback program is it's actually a contract between the teacher and the student who hasn't been attending the course for whatever reason. And I think although the intention is to try to catch those kids that are falling through the cracks, maybe it's not, an effective bang for the buck. I don't know. So I guess I'd like to just add that when we look at this further, as I think we should, and we're looking at getting more information, one piece I'd like to know is what the cost is. And that would go along with the attendance, the money and effort we put into the attendance issue. How does that compare with the results we're seeing, and to really look at that piece of it more closely. But I think the concept of trying to provide another safety net for kids that are falling through the cracks appeals to me, but when the numbers are so small, it makes you wonder if it's really as effective as it could be.
So motion to refer this matter to the high school subcommittee by Mr. Leary, seconded by Mr. McHugh. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matter is referred to the high school subcommittee. Next report is a report on assistive devices for students with hearing loss. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, this is a report requested by the committee at the last school committee meeting on the status of the audio systems for our hearing impaired youngsters. You can see the report indicates that we have 25 youngsters who require assistive devices. There are 4 that are now, 3 of the 4 are that were not in working order last week are now in working order, and 1 where a part was lost. The company was notified on March 2nd, and the company did see the student within 3 days to determine what part is needed, and will report on the status of that to the committee. The company that we contract with, Audio Hearing Center, has also arranged to purchase 2 complete additional systems and some extra components which can be configured to use as backup systems. So the direction given by the committee at the last meeting, we have followed, and we will have information about costs for our next meeting.
Mr. Leahy.
Thank you. Just quickly looking this over, because we just got this, I just want to make sure that when we go over this, I noticed at the high school, and I could be wrong on my information, but one of the high school students, it says being reevaluated to determine if they need it. So my understanding was that the two students at the high school needed it, but if that's not the case, I'm not sure why that would be in there. I thought that was the whole problem last week with the high school, and then yet we're being told that they may not need one.
If I could just ask Assistant Superintendent Murphy to respond.
There is one student at the high school who is in the life skills program who has been using an FM system. The evaluators now are questioning whether the student is receiving any benefit from that system. So the student is going through an evaluation process through hospitals in Boston to determine if the student continues to need the system. But there is a system there in working order for that student.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes. I'd like to say, through you, my thanks to the administration, all the hard work in putting this together. Clearly, everybody's been updated, it looks like, from this report. And I know we've scheduled a special ed subcommittee meeting for the 20th, which we will be able to talk more in detail about some of this. And I would just request at that meeting, I had emailed a few questions for the last meeting, really that speaks to the process that's going to be in place as we go forward in terms of who will be the designated person responsible at each of our school buildings, or is it all going to be out of central? Just to kind of have something in place, that a system that's going to work district-wide, so we don't ever have a situation like what's happened in the past, again, for these students or any new students coming up with hearing impairment. So part of what I'd be looking for at that special ed subcommittee meeting would be to have an understanding of what is the exact process that's going to be in place district-wide, who are going to be the responsible parties, and how we're going to handle this in the future, because this looks great. You know, a 2-day turnaround, that works for me. I just want to make sure it's going to be happening next year as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to accept the report and place on file by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. McHugh. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Next item is the Knowledge Bowl progress report. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, you have some information. The preliminary round of the Knowledge Bowl, of the Middle School Knowledge Bowl, has been concluded. The semifinals are next week, next Monday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday night. And then the big finals are Thursday, the 22nd. And particular thanks to Mary Alice Foley at the Butler School, who is serving as the site facilitator and the MC for the contest. There's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy, and a lot of high-scoring teams. So we look forward to some a lot of excitement in the semifinal and final round. And the final round will be televised. So those people who can't make it to the Butler on Thursday the 22nd can watch it on television.
Okay. Motion to accept the report by Ms. Martin, second by Mr. Leahy. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. And the final report, Madam Superintendent, Mass Drama Festival competition?
Yes, another good news report. The Student Theater Company at Lowell High School, under the direction of Jim Ferguson, accomplished something that no Lowell High School drama group has accomplished in 72 years. And that is that they're into the semifinal round of the statewide drama festival. And so they will be competing March 17th in the semifinal round. We'll be bringing them to the committee on the 21st. So we'll at our next meeting. So we'll know whether they've advanced further out of the semifinal round. But it's quite an accomplishment for the first time in 72 years to be showcasing Lowell High drama students. So congratulations to the young people in the drama company and to Mr. Ferguson.
Thank you. Motion to accept the report by Ms. Fattacante, second by Ms. Doherty. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Madam Superintendent.
I was going to add a report, but I was actually going to have the wrestling team here tonight. They won the New England Championship, first time in 20 years. They're the New England champions, the wrestling team, which is very exciting, but they're wrestling for another championship tonight. But we will, at an appropriate time,
Next meeting.
the winter sports teams have really had an unusually high degree of success, but it doesn't get much better than winning the New England Championships in a team event.
Okay. And I notice also that the girls' basketball team is playing Saturday. I don't know if we have a time yet. 5 p.m. Saturday for the Eastern Mass Division 1 or 2 North Finals. So North Finals anyway. Madam Superintendent. Division 1. Okay, Division 1 North Finals.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. McHugh.
I'd also like to just congratulate Matt Welch. He scored, I think, was it last Saturday, 1,000 points during the playoff game, and I know he has another year to go, so it's wonderful. And, I mean, it was a tournament game, and they ended up winning that game against Charleston, and that was a great moment for him and exciting, and I kind of, everybody just kind of looked, and everybody got a nice round of applause. It was a full house. I did hear they lost last night, which was a tough one, but I wish them well in the boys' basketball for a great season they did have, and we wish the girls very well as they move forward and go wrestling team tonight, so hopefully they'll do well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I don't think there's anything else under new business or convention requests. There is one communication, a thank you note from the family of Lorraine Mulvey, thanking us for the moment of silence held in her memory. I think it was 1 or 2 meetings back now. So motion to accept that communication, place on file by Ms. Fattacante, second by Mr. Leahy. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The communication is accepted. I believe that concludes the agenda. Mr. Leahy.
Thank you. Could I just take a point of personal preference? I wanted to ask if you could maybe get an update, or either through you or the superintendent. I had a motion on a while ago about signage for the Sullivan School. Can we find out where that is?
I'll be happy to get that
Trying
information
to just
you.
get, well, I don't know whose hands it's in now, but it's been, months. Just trying to get some signs up there to slow the cars down. So if we could find out where that is. All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay. We'll get an update on that. Motion to I'm sorry, Mr. Leary.
Just real quick, we got an information from the superintendent regarding the LTC issue, and I don't know if anybody else wants to opine on this. Our obligation, as I understand it, is that we choose 2 particular individuals to be members of that board. And I, for one, I've had discussions with a few committee members, I think that we should find the language out to ensure that we're fulfilling our obligation. And if we're not, definitely to go forward and nominate 2 people. I haven't read their bylaws. It wasn't my top priority, but since we are members of this board, the school committee, and we are required to appoint 2 folks, then we should ensure that we're doing that. And if there's 2 people right now representing the school department, if there are, I don't know who they would be, that if they're not nominated by us, that we take appropriate action, and I'll put that in frame of a motion if you want, appropriate action to ensure that we have selected, we have fulfilled our obligation. So I don't know if anybody else wants to speak on that.
I'll second it, and I'll also speak on it. Your Honor, I also want to echo that the people who the school committee appoints should be currently employed by the Lowell School Committee. And I appreciate the service that the 2 members have given, but to me, their service time should be disconnected when they are disconnected from the high school. And so we should be thinking about appointing 2 people who have a direct connection to the high school. And I think that should be very clear with LTC, that when people who are we've appointed, who are no longer connected with the system, should be removed from the board, not through any fault, just because they're no longer part of the Lowell school system. And we should therefore look for somebody else to appoint.
Okay. Well, if you know who the two appointees are,
We do.
you're doing better than the city council is, I think.
Well,
So,
we got a
because we
memo.
have similar
and their
issues.
names are actually in the memo.
Okay.
And I do appreciate their service, but both of them no longer work for the Lowell School System and have not for some time. And I don't know if it was LTC's oversight or our oversight, it was just not seen as a big deal. It is a big deal. People should be connected to the Lowell School System and represent us on that board. Thank you.
I agree, and we're taking steps, I think, with the other branches of the city government that have appointments as well, to bring them up to date and in line with the bylaws.
Right.
Mr. Mayor,
McHugh.
yeah, actually, because I actually asked for that request to be sent to everybody, because I actually do remember taking a vote here to appoint one of those individuals, but that was some time ago when they first came on, and they've been directly related with our TV studio,
Right.
which has always been the case, because that would give the knowledge and everything else. So I think as we move forward, though, I would like to, if we have appointed people on boards like that, we should get some type of annual report from them as part of that, being on that board, so we know what the issues are and how they relate to Lowell High School and the school committee. I think that would be another step, because, you know, it's something that you've done probably, we did that probably 5-6 years ago, appointed one of those folks, and, you know, it just kind of falls off the radar screen because they're there, and we never get any information back. So as we move forward, I'd like to put that as a suggestion, that we get a report once a year from our two members to give us a presentation or some type of report, what they're doing down there, and how it relates to our Channel 22 as well, because that's part of the network as well. Thank you.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes, I feel like I have to speak on this issue. I'm currently on the board of LTC. I've completed one term. When I was asked to be on the board, I was nominated by Councilor Rita Mercier. That's what they told me at the time, and I just found out in the last couple of weeks, when all of you did, that there's this requirement that the city council names several people and the school committee names 2 people. I'm perfectly willing to step aside if my colleagues want to nominate someone. But on the other hand, I would obviously be willing to fulfill the term. I was told it was a 2-year commitment. I'm in my 2nd year. But I think in terms of the current chair of LTC was a former employee who was, I guess, left the district in August, right? About 6 months ago. So I think as we go forward, we do need to have conversation about this and, you know, find people who are willing and want to serve on the board. But I just thought I should say that I am on the board. But I was not told when I was asked to be on the board that I would be one of the school committee representatives, because I wasn't aware that we had that option. I just wanted you to know that. Thank you.
All right, so you had a motion that you wanted to make? I think we need a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Entertain this by Mr. Leary, second by Mr. McHugh. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The rules are suspended. So, Mr. Leary.
I think the motion should be really to clarify who our current appointed members are, what were their term limits expired, and then to go about, if they have expired, which I believe they would have by now, appointing 2 people to that board. And I think we'd probably, before all that, we'd need to review what the bylaws are to see what exactly our responsibilities are regarding appointments to the board.
All right, so moved by Mr. Leary, seconded by Ms. Fattacante. Roll call, please.
Larry Fattacante seconded, okay. Mr. McHugh,
Yes.
Mayor Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Doherty,
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Okay. Motion to adjourn by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. McHugh. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Meeting stands adjourned.
Boy.